So the WiSDM Wrap for the fortnight ending the 11th of August. This is where we get present to some of the recent highlights for women in strategic decision making, take note of the gaps and obstacles, and identify where we can have impact. So the first thing I want to mention is last week's announcement of Christine Holgate receiving $1 million payout from Australia Post. So you'll remember that the Australia Post has agreed to pay Christine Holgate $1 million as a termination payment after mediation before a federal court judge. They've also agreed to pay some money towards her legal costs. In a statement, Australia Post has said that it lost an effective CEO following the events of the morning of 22 October 2020, and it regrets the difficult circumstances surrounding her departure. So, you know, the saga started last year in a Senate Estimates Committee where Ms. Holgate told the hearing that 4 Cartier watches had been given to senior executives as a reward for work. And at the time she said it was a recommendation from the chair that people were rewarded, and they are a commercial organisation. So the revelation became a political issue immediately, and within hours the Prime Minister had told Parliament he was appalled and the gifts were disgraceful. Ms. Holgate was forced to step aside and eventually she chose to resign. She has said, "The simple truth is I was bullied out of my job. I was humiliated and driven to despair. I was thrown under the bus so the chairman of Australia Post could curry favour with his political masters." And earlier this year, a government investigation confirmed no indication of dishonesty, fraud, corruption, or intentional misuse of Australia Post funds by any individual involved in the matters relating to the purchase and gifting of Cartier watches. So just something I wanted us to be present to in terms of the landscape for women in strategic decision making currently. Another was a study that I came across, which was published earlier this year by Reuters Institute, and it's analysing the gender breakdown of top editors in media globally. So it looked at a strategic sample of 240 major online and offline outlets across 12 different markets in 4 continents. Unfortunately, Australia is not one of those, but still relevant for us to look at this. So we know in media organisations, top editors are important because they're key figures leading the newsroom direction and decision-making, shaping what news and newsrooms look like. And they also play a role in the relationship between journalists and audiences. So the research found that 22% of the 180 top editors across the brands they looked at were women, 22%. And on average, this is substantially below the 40% of journalists who are women in those same markets. So the conclusion they made was they found no clear interpretable relationship between overall gender equality in society and the percentage of women among top editors, which is underlining that there are specific dynamics at play and in the news media. I'll send links to that study to you as well. The third thing to mention is August is Women's Month in South Africa. So I came across an article in the Daily Maverick, which is an independent media outlet in South Africa, which is looking at how the status of South African women has evolved in the past decade, from home ownership to employment and debates around land tenure. So women are actually leading home ownership data in that country, and data showing that over the last 10 years, female first-time home applications increased by 52%, with a decline of 5.9% for male applications. So the interesting thing there is it differs notably from the overarching reality that women in general are earning lower incomes than men, which is limiting their access to the property market. Employment rates, this is still in South Africa, employment rates in March 2021, women 43.8% employed and men 60.2%. So interestingly, though, in that data, women occupied 1 in 3 managerial positions and 49% of professionals were female. And when it comes to their directors on their JSE listed companies, 20.7% of directors were female. So while not the focus of the decision-making aspect of our commitment here, a stark reminder in the research was that 1 in 3 women in South Africa are victims of domestic violence. And according to the World Health Organization, South Africa's femicide rate is almost 5 times higher than the global average. The fourth thing I'd like to mention, and I'm not sure if she's on today, but she has been a previous guest of ours, is Dr. Susan McGinty has been recognised as one of 20, in Australian Business Journal's pick of 20 best leadership experts and coaches to watch out for in 2021. So she's been recognised for her commitment to changing the status quo for women as leaders by uplifting more women into leadership roles and through building the skills needed to be an exceptional leader. So congratulations to Susan, and it's great to have you part of this community. And the last announcement is one specifically from me. This week I received the certification for WiSDM to be officially recognised as an incorporated association. So basically that means more opportunity to impact the women in strategic decision making. And I'll be making more announcements in the coming weeks about this exciting development and our plans to provide more support for women decision makers, which is all being created inside your participation in activities like WiSDM Wednesday. And I'd like to just give a special shout out in the incorporation there to Catalyse, my employer, who's really supported me both financially and given me the time and space to create WiSDM. And without them, we wouldn't have the association or even be here today. So thank you. And that is the WiSDM Wrap.